There wasn't much to begin with, but most of the cash available in the 2025 NBA offseason has dried up. The top free agents have new deals, rookies are on board, and the trade chatter is quieting down. That makes this a good time to hand out some offseason grades. This can't just be about whether a given roster looks better or worse than it did a year ago. Every team has different priorities, tools, and intentions. These grades must acknowledge that reality. We have to go a layer deeper, asking some important questions before passing judgment. What were the team's priorities? And what were the realistic options for pursuing them? And then, did the team engage in that pursuit effectively? Maximizing value, being opportunistic, operating on a clear timeline, etc. The Boston Celtics demolition has to be evaluated differently than, say, the Houston Rockets' star acquisitions or the Charlotte Hornets' careful accumulation of future assets. 3 weeks into the offseason, most of the big business is done. Let's see how all 30 teams have fared so far.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 4 years, $62 million via sign-and trade, and Luke Kennard, 1 year, $11 million, give the Atlanta Hawks perhaps the best backcourt rotation they've had during the Trae Young era. And trade acquisition Kristaps Porzingis will bring a shot-blocking, floor-stretching skill set the team has never really had. Even with Porzingis' uncertain health, he was well worth Georges Niang, Terrence Mann, and the number 22 pick, the price Atlanta paid to land him in a 3-team deal with the Brooklyn Nets and Boston Celtics. The returning first unit, Young, Dyson Daniels, Zachary Razasher, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu, now have 3 high-end contributors coming off the bench behind them. This might be the deepest, most complete Hawks rotation since they made the Eastern Conference Finals in 2021. Better still, Atlanta came out on the right end of the most lopsided trade of the summer by securing an unprotected 2026 first-round pick, better of New Orleans or Milwaukee, and the number 23 selection for the number 13 pick. If the Pels or Bucks slip up, the Hawks could be choosing near the top of the 2026 draft.
The cost-cutting talent drain was probably on the table before Jason Tatum tore his Achilles in the playoffs. But that deeply unfortunate injury made the Boston Celtics' demolition inevitable. Knowing there was no sense in spending $500 million in payroll and tax on a Tatumless roster that couldn't contend, the Celtics shipped off Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday, netting Anthony Simons from the Portland Trail Blazers for the latter. Boston is now under the second apron and could duck the tax if it finds a taker for Simons' expiring $28 million salary at the trade deadline. None of this has been any fun for Celtics fans, who are probably experiencing whiplash with a championship and a teardown separated by 13 months. But Boston had to do this. The costs and restrictions associated with keeping the roster together were too great, particularly in the wake of a Tatum injury that might keep him from returning to full form until 2027.
It was a bit of a surprise to see the Brooklyn Nets use all 5 of their first-round picks, but given their lack of cornerstones and long distance from contention, throwing a handful of darts isn't the worst idea. And if one of Igor Demon, Nolan Traore, or Ben Seroff pans out, the Nets will have the point guard they need to run the show. Brooklyn picked up a meh first-rounder by inserting itself into the Kristaps Porzingis deal between the Hawks and Celtics. But the real gem of its offseason came in the form of an unprotected 2032 first-round pick from the Denver Nuggets. If the Nets can flip Michael Porter Jr. for positive value at the deadline, they could win that trade twice over. Maybe some fans are disappointed Brooklyn didn't wield its cap space more aggressively, but exiting the offseason with a bunch of rookies, that 2032 pick, and the chance to have nearly as much cap space next summer as this one is a pretty good result.